Hello and welcome to Granada Reports. We are live with the latest news from across the northwest.
Yeah, thanks for joining us tonight. Here's what's coming up on the programme.
Survivors of terror attacks speak out about the government's anti-terror programme after it's revealed the Southport killer's referral was closed prematurely.
We shouldn't wait till there's a catastrophic incident to then find the failings.
Today we also learned that only now, after so many have lost so much, is he finally being treated as the terrorist he is.
Also on tonight's programme. Going the extra mile and then some. The former soldier who rode 3,000 miles across the ocean to raise funds for one of our most cherished charities.
High fives from Salford stars as they look to put boardroom battles behind them ahead of the new Super League season.
Now we've got to finish this movie and get the hell out of here!
A celebration of movie history takes to the stage in Salford.
And despite the cold conditions over the next couple of days, it's always a joy to see a bit of sunshine. I'll have all the details in the forecast later on.
Well, first tonight, to the lessons that must be learned from the Southport attacks, and the first of them was laid bare today.
Yeah, a review of the government's anti-terror programme Prevent has found that officials failed to recognise the significance of the killer Axel Rudder being repeatedly referred to them. Officials saw no ideology behind it, and although he was obsessed with violence, Prevent closed his case prematurely. He went on to murder 3 little girls at a dance class in Southport on July the 29th last year. 6-year-old BB King, Elsie Stankham, who was 7, and Alice De Silva Aguirre, who was 9. Well, the House of Commons was told today there were 15 contacts between Rudder and the authorities, including 3 referrals to the Prevent scheme, all made through his school. In December 2019, he was referred after making comments about a mass shooting. In February 2021, a fellow pupil raised concerns about the killer after he posted images of Colonel Gaddafi on Instagram. In April 2021, a teacher raised concerns after noticing Rudder was searching for information about terror attacks, including the 2017 London Bridge attack in which 8 people were killed. Anna Yosef has been following the story, and this will be devastating news for those affected by his crimes.
It will be, because this report is damning. It found Rudder should have been treated as a terror threat long before the attack in Southport. A review of his contact with the Prevent programme found he posed a sufficient risk to be fully investigated, but 3 reports about his behaviour were closed prematurely. The report also found Rudder name was misspelt on the Prevent database, meaning previous referrals could have been missed. Security Minister Dan Jarvis said despite multiple warnings about the danger he posed, numerous opportunities to stop him weren't taken.
The review is clear on the concerning behaviours that the perpetrator demonstrated. It highlights his interest in the Manchester Arena attack, that he talked about stabbing people, and it flagged that some of the grievances that could have been a motivation were not fully considered.
The review criticised counter-terrorism officers for focusing too heavily on the absence of a clear terrorist ideology and failing to explore the significance of the teenager's repeat referrals, including his history of violence. It also found there was enough evidence for Prevent officers to refer Rudder to the next stage of the scheme, called Channel, which aims to divert individuals from being radicalised. Southport MP Patrick Hurley believes the victims and their families were failed.
It's obvious that Rudder could have been caught and caught earlier. There were multiple instances of state failure, that the Prevent programme didn't do its job well enough to catch him when they had the opportunity. He was referred 3 times to Prevent, and on each of those 3 occasions he was allowed to slip through the net. We need to make sure that we close those gaps and make sure that nobody else slips through the net in the future.
James Furlong, who was originally from Liverpool, was murdered in Reading in 2020. His killer had been referred to Prevent 4 times. James's father believes lessons haven't been learned and the public are still at risk.
It needs to be looked at, but operated properly. You need to look at the people we're employing into events. We need to look at the people we're training. But how do we audit Prevent? It should be an onward going thing, that it's being audited. We shouldn't wait till there's a catastrophic incident to then find the failings.
Today, the Security Minister confirmed the government had accepted all 14 recommendations made by the review. He also added counter-terrorism police had visited all prevent areas across the country to see if there were outstanding issues identified in the report. His key message: we must get prevent right.
Anna, thanks so much.
In other news today, police have arrested 2 men and a teenage boy police have arrested 2 men after a teenage boy and a man was seriously injured in a double stabbing in South Manchester. It happened just before 7 o'clock in the Rushford and Purcell Street areas in Longsight last night. A 16-year-old and 20-year-old were taken to hospital. Detectives say they believe the attack was targeted and say there is no wider threat to the community.
Proposals for devolution in Cumbria, Cheshire and Warrington will be fast-tracked, the Deputy Prime Minister has said. Angela Rayner said people in those areas could be voting for a directly elected mayor by May 2026. Lancashire could also see a mayoral vote next year, but has been given until the autumn to finalise its plans.
The Prince of Wales has spoken to teenagers about dealing with bereavements during a visit to a charity in Widnes. Prince William went to Child Bereavement UK to meet with volunteers and young people who the charity has helped. The Prince has been a patron of the charity since 2009.
Well, next to a mental health nurse from Crosby on Merseyside who knows a thing or two about going the extra mile to raise funds for a good cause.
Yes, Damien McCafferty went 3,000 miles, in fact, because he was sponsored to row across the Atlantic Ocean in support of Clare House, the children's hospice on the Wirral.
Yeah, Damien and Clare House's Debbie Lofthouse joined us to discuss his exploits, and we started by asking him how he felt about his amazing feat.
I've not even processed it. I've not even begun to process it. I think it was just such a massive feat, 47 and a half days at sea. While you're doing it, you're just hoping to get off at the other end. But stepping off that boat, stepping into the arms of my wife, just overwhelming.
I mean, you must be absolutely shattered. 3,000 nautical miles across the Atlantic. What was it like? What was that journey like?
An experience of a lifetime. We've seen some absolute fantastic skies, amazing skies. Watching a full moon rise in the middle of the ocean was just breathtaking.
There must have been points where you were exhausted. If you didn't have the mental strength, you wouldn't have been able to continue.
You were a team of 10 and you've got to get up every 3 hours, whether you like it or not. When you're putting wet, soggy, horrible clothes on in the middle of the night, you've got to get up and get on with it.
So why did you choose Clare House and how much have you raised so far?
I'm a psychiatric nurse, I'm a CAMHS nurse as well. I'm fully aware what they do and what they do for families. And it just made more sense for me to, if I'm doing these events anyways, to raise money for a service that's vital to the community.
And on it being vital to the community, Debbie, I mean, how important are expeditions such as one carried out by Damien to the work that you and your colleagues at Clare House do?
Yeah, they're really important. Like, it's fundraisers that Damien that keep the doors of the hospice open for us. The local community really does support us with all their fundraising efforts, and it helps us to do what we do, basically.
People like Damien raise a huge chunk of your budget, don't they?
They do, yeah. So over 80% is from fundraisers. People like Damien who do amazing challenges like this, runs. Obviously, he's done runs and other challenges for us before. So that is what keeps us going, really.
Damien, tell us about that moment when you finally arrived in Antigua. What was that like?
You're stepping off a boat that's been wobbling for a month and a half, 2 months, and then to stand onto solid ground again, your legs just goes wobbly as well. To see the families, to hear, we could hear the families shouting and screaming, and we came in the dark, and to see all the torches, and we came into a dock that's got very expensive super yachts in it, and we woke all them up, and then their horns started going, so we came in loud, and it was very emotional for everybody.
How much were you hoping to raise, and how much have you raised?
The hope was about £40,000, well, as much as we can really. The target was initially 40. We're currently sitting at about 12 and a half.
I mean, such an amazing moment when, as you said, you came back into the arms of your family. How to top this? What's next?
I've been grounded. I've, for the first time in years, I've nothing in the pipeline. I will pick something else, you can guarantee it.
So David, the ambition is to raise £40,000, if not more. Can you give us a sense of how that money will be used ultimately?
It funds like our nurses, for respite care for the children, overnight stays, our counselling therapies. We also support their siblings, their parents, and their families. So it just goes to the running of the hospice, and it really is vital funds that help keep us going and keep the doors open.
And how can people find out more information?
Yeah, so if you go onto our website, which is clarehouse.gov.uk, so you can find out a little bit more, and you can also donate to Damien that way. And he also does have a Just Giving page as well.
Brilliant. Well, I hope you get to put your feet up, have a bit of a rest and some sleep.
Sleep will be important. Yeah.
Thanks so much for coming in and joining us.
No, it's
Thank
a pleasure.
you.
Thank you.
What a challenge.
Right?
He was telling us as well that he actually dislocated some of the fingers in his hand, didn't he, when he was out there.
Good on him. Next tonight, it is time to meet some really talented young people. In fact, these kids are so good, they'll no doubt be giving us a run for our money because they're the team behind Kids Live at 5, a weekly radio show in Cheshire.
Yeah, some of the children have a diagnosis such as autism and ADHD, and their parents have opened up to us about how the shows help the children to grow in confidence. Jamal Williams-Thomas picks up the story.
It's Sunday, it's 5 p.m, it's Kids Live at 5.
An impressive roster of children fronting their very own radio show every Sunday evening. Live at 5 is a magazine programme covering things like space, pets and everything in between.
So we started it in lockdown, so when I was about 12, 13, and it was kind of just something to make sure all the kids had something to do,
Throughout the week, the young reporters record their segments mainly at home, and they are stitched together from the studios in Lim. Things, however, don't always go to plan in space correspondent Oscar's world.
In 3, 2, 1.
That's where you start, man. But he does know his stuff.
These might be the broadcasters of the future, and their shows, their confidence has come on, their whole personality, their interviewing. It's just a delight to watch and listen to that show being put together, and to hear it on every Sunday afternoon is amazing.
Well, all I can say is I better watch my back with all this new broadcasting talent coming up. Jamal Williams-Thomas, ITV News, Lim.
I think we need to watch our backs as well, don't we?
Yeah, we are definitely keeping these seats warm for those kids.
Absolutely.
Very, very good. You can find more on that story by going to our regional rail on ITVX.
Right, it's time now for sport, and Salford Red Devils are hopeful a takeover will soon happen, David.
Yeah, that's right. They're desperate for new investment at the club. Well, the club was told that it had to sell its top players by Rugby League's governing body after having its salary cap slashed. Concerns over finances have really dominated their build-up to the new season. Chris Hall has been at today's Super League launch, where he caught up with two of Salford's main men.
Whether as high-profile big spenders or tight-budget overachievers, Salford have been a fascinating part of Super League since they returned to it 16 years ago. But today, as they marked the start of the season, the question remained, would they reach the end of it? So what is the position for Salford Red Devils at the moment?
Well, the club's obviously got interest, and we're hopeful that a takeover will be announced soon, but as it stands, that's not the case. And so until it's signed and sealed, then for us as a football department, we just carry on as normal.
How hard has it been as a head coach when you were being told that you might have to sell a lot of your players, and you've had to deal with that all in pre-season?
It's been horrific. It's been horrific in the quiet times when you're at home, when you've got some downtime. That's been horrific for me because the emotions of the relationships we've built. I didn't want to lose the players. But the minute I step through the door, we've got a group that just takes everything away. We've got a fantastic group. Probably explains why we kind of managed to beat the bookies every year.
Ryan, let's bring you in as well. How hard's it been for the players? You guys all have bills to pay. It must have been a really uncertain time for you the last few months.
I think what this group has been really good at all the recent times is rolling with the punches and coming through adversity in a positive way, and hopefully this one will be no different.
Tell us about the team spirit. We've all seen the bit of fun that Mark Sneed had with the photo he put on Instagram of the team photo this year, and it's just him sat in the stands on his own. Is that a sign of the gallows humour in the team, perhaps, that's pulled everyone together at this time?
Yeah, I just think we enjoy each other's company, don't we? not Sneedy was on his own on that picture, weren't he? But normally we enjoy each other's company. But I think it's just a nice feel we've got, and we don't take things too seriously. I think that's probably been the biggest strength of our team, is that this guy lets us be unapologetically ourselves, which is a massive skill to have in a group environment. And I think the results over previous years have probably lended weight to that. But it's just a great place to come in, a great environment, and I think it's what we've created over recent years, and it's a pleasure to be a part of.
What can this team achieve this year, do you think, if you do get that stability off the field?
Well, first job is to beat the bookie again. We've managed to do that, and you know, we stick to our core values, what we've got within the group. One being to be jovial and laugh in the face of adversity. Then we want to win a cup, don't we? That's what everybody wants to win. So there's no reason why we can't.
With a takeover which seems tantalisingly close, Salford's hopes are quickly turning from mere survival to silverware. Chris Hall, ITV News, Manchester.
And we will, of course, keep you updated on any developments at Salford. Well, turning to football now, and Manchester City have reported racist and misogynistic messages sent to their forward, Khadija Shaw, to the police. The club say they're appalled at the disgusting treatment of their record goal scorer. Shaw was sent the abuse after the defeat to Arsenal, where she made her 100th appearance for City's women. She's decided not to share the messages, as she doesn't want to give publicity to those who sent them. On to last night's action now, where Burnley have moved back up to second spot in the Championship, despite having a host of chances. Well, they only beat Oxford 1-0 at Turf Moor thanks to an own goal. Scott Parker's side, well, they're now unbeaten in 18 league games, haven't conceded a goal in their last 9. Our only other team in action last night to pick up points was Salford in League 2. They came from 3 goals down to draw 3-3 with Bromley, thanks to Cole Stockton's 92nd minute equaliser. There we go. We end with Salford football, started with Salford rugby. Fingers crossed, though, the Super League season does start officially a week tomorrow, so put that in the calendar as well. But yeah, hopefully they can get some takeover sorted soon, so that the security then off the pitch as well.
Absolutely, the countdown is on to that new season. Thanks so much, David.
And the ITV Evening News continues with the national and international stories at 6:30. Here's Mary with the details.
Coming up at 6:30, the fury of the families of the Nottingham attacks victims who hit out at NHS mental health care failings, which left Valdo Calacane free to kill. A family member of one of the victims has demanded accountability. Also, Sir Keir Starmer says Palestinians must be allowed home after Donald Trump suggests they may be permanently resettled elsewhere. And the charity that brings the joy of cinema to patients in hospital. Well, do join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
Well, finally tonight to a stage show that's been making waves and has just landed right behind us at the Lowry Theatre.
Yeah, it's inspired on the making of the movie Jaws, but what you may not know is that one of the stars of the movie, Robert Shaw, was from West Horton near Bolton.
I know it surprised me too today. Well, the stage show, The Shark Has Broken, is based on Robert's diaries during the time he filmed and fell out with his Hollywood co-stars. And it also features his son, Ian. Elaine Wilcox has the story.
What about you, Robert? What do you think it's about?
It's about a shark.
Yeah, no, I know that, but what's it really about?
It's really about a shark. Don't read any more into it. It's a thriller.
You were on the set as a young boy when your father was the star.
Yes, I met Bruce, the shark, which was very scary to me.
Were you always going to play your father?
I looked like him and I sounded like him, but I was very hesitant because I thought it was potentially career suicide.
But if you ever lay a finger on one of my bottles again, I will put you in the ground.
Do you see why they locked heads?
My father didn't hate Richard. I think he was irritated by him, but there was affection as well as conflict between the two of them.
And what was he like as a father to you?
He was incredibly affectionate and funny and naughty.
You know what I like about you, Robert? You're so easygoing.
Well, thank you for inviting me onto the boat.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you're welcome.
It's Bijou.
The number of times we've hit our heads on these beams.
They've had to put cushions on there for you, haven't they?
But yeah, no, it's a great set.
I just remember being really scared as a kid because it's so gory in a way. There's so much blood and the shark's quite scary and obviously you never really see it and you just hear the duh-duh.
And you talk about the sea, but I felt a bit seasick at
Yeah,
one
So
stage.
do we.
Yeah,
If you're doing the scenes and you see the horizon, you're just like, got my sea legs.
So you haven't got long to come and see it in the Northwest. What would you say to people who might be a bit still traumatised from Jaws?
I don't think it's not going to be traumatising because it's not about the horror of
No.
Jaws. It's about the making of Jaws and those three incredible people that were instrumental in creating such a classic movie.
You don't see much of the shark in Jaws because it never worked, but you know the idea of you don't need to see it to know that it's there, and that's what's kind of
the imagination.
The imagination sort of takes you, and you know that it's broken and they're fixing it.
I was steeling myself to be frightened after watching Jaws and remembering, but the title is very, very apt. The shark is indeed broken. We don't see the shark.
We don't see the shark.
And some people might be surprised.
Well, I think the clue's in the title, isn't it?
Do you really think people are going to be talking about this in 50 years?
Oh, what the hell?
With a bit of encouragement from Elaine this afternoon. I say a bit of encouragement. I think Elaine gave him an elbow. Come on. Ian Shaw went to West Horton for the first time to see the Robert Shaw pub, named after his dad, and with his co-star Ashley, who's from Whitefield.
And look how much Ian looks like his dad. It's absolutely uncanny, isn't it?
Right, chip of the old block.
Well, I have to say, that film scared me, so I'm glad we didn't hear the music. But let's get a look at the weather now. Here's Joe.
Why do I need a shower? I've been out in the rain.
The faster you go, the sooner you'll be out. You'll save water too.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada Weather.
Hello again, a very good evening to you. High pressure in charge of our weather for the rest of this week, and that means dry, cold conditions, some nice sunshine to look forward to over the next couple of days before we pull in slightly more cloud towards the weekend. We can see the jet stream over the next couple of days is positioned in such a manner that cold air and dry conditions will be feeding in across the UK as a whole, and there will be overnight frosts and a few freezing fog patches in places, and that will certainly start this evening, where we'll see temperatures drop away like a stone. Very light winds, dry conditions and clear skies will lead to a widespread frost before dawn. Temperatures in rural parts of Cheshire, Derbyshire could fall to around -5 or -6, and we'll see that freezing fog forming for Greater Manchester, Derbyshire, the Peak District. But any spots it could really pop up before tomorrow morning, so something to bear in mind if you're travelling tonight or first thing. Those are the sun times for tomorrow. It's up at 7:49, setting at 2 minutes past 5 tomorrow evening. For all of us, a really cold, frosty start to the day, that freezing fog lingering in a few spots, but a dry day in prospect. Plenty of lovely sunshine on offer again tomorrow for the northwest of England and the Isle of Man, but it's another very cold one. Temperature-wise, perhaps getting to around 7, maybe 8 Celsius at best, but it will feel very chilly. Under clear skies tomorrow night, another widespread frost to come, and then slightly more cloud will feed in as we head through towards the weekend. So Friday, a bright day, frosty into Saturday, and now Saturday and Sunday will be generally dry, but it will be cloudy. The chilly feel prevailing throughout the weekend. Bye-bye.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada Weather.
Although we don't see the shark in that play, Jaws is a great movie, isn't it?
It is. I remember watching Jaws Revenge when I was about 9 and then wouldn't go swimming lessons for once.
We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
See you later. Bye-bye. Don't put me.